welcome back to the channel. As ever, you can find me over on Instagram at the House of Langford and Overall Sews. I'm also on Ravelry as Mad X Stitcher. I'm also on Facebook. There is a page and a group linked to this channel. There is also a Discord group, which is very new because I think I'm the only one in it. And I have just actually set up myself a Patreon account as well. And there is a Ko-fi account linked to this account too. So there's a lot of things going on. A few of those are new. And I'm hoping that we can build up a little community over on those channels. So I'm looking to produce some exclusive content for Patreon and also add some freebies on there as well. So yeah, join me over there. I'll put all the details in the description box below, and then I just have to remember to put that in all of my other videos. So today's video is all about my plans and goals, craft based, for 2025. So grab yourself a beverage. I've also got some biscuits because why not? And yeah, we're gonna go through what I plan on doing for 2025. I have literally just written a very long list. Some of the things I've been wanting to do for a little while anyway. Other things I just want done. So I'm going to take a sip and then we'll get straight into it. Okay, I have my notebook because I figured that I would just write them in one of the back pages along with my whip list then. And if you have seen my whip audit, you'll know I have 21 or 22 whips. 21 whips? 22. Currently I am down by 5. I have frogged 2 and I have finished 3 very early on in January. So yeah, there's a lot been going on in January, which is why this video is coming to you so late. But I'm hoping that you'll join me in setting some goals for the rest of the year. So first things first, Helen of Giddyknits, who is Giddyknits over here on YouTube, is doing her bingo crafting challenge again. So you get a bingo square. I'll pop mine up over here, or blank one. I'll pop up the blank one first and then the filled in one. So you get a bingo square basically, which is 9 boxes. It's very similar to the Make 9 that was all over Instagram, I think around lockdown and prior to lockdown. I've not really done that for a while, so this is an interesting way of me picking out 9 things that I want to focus on for the year. But there are other challenges and other things I want to do as well. So the bingo crafting challenge, I have decided to pick some of the things off of my whip list that I really want finished or are close to being finished, and therefore I can tick them off and then they're done. There are other things on here that I want to try, and to get back to my sewing machine as well, because now that I'm no longer working in a school and teaching textiles, I don't have access to multiple sewing machines and overlockers and things like that, or the space to do that, so I'm having to create a space at home now. So let's go through my bingo board with you. First things first, I want to complete the heel on my gingerbread Christmas socks, because I think these are from 2021 Christmas, maybe 2022. So I started a pair of Christmas socks. It's the first time knitting a pair of socks, and I am now at the point where I can do the heel. I've never made socks before, not knitted them anyway. So for me, as a challenge, I want to at least do one part of that sock for this year, because they've been on my needles now for at least 2 years and I'm not really making progress on them. But I figured if I could do one part of it, so say I did the heel, is it heel flap at the back? If I can get that done, then there's nothing to stop me moving straight onto the hill turn. If that's right. He'll flap that way, he'll turn that way. Yeah, and getting the heel part done of one sock, because I haven't started the other sock. So if I can get that bit done, then the rest is just round and round and round, and I can do that quite easily, and then it's just checking that it fits before I do the toe. That's what I know of sock making. So yeah, I want to do at least one part of that sock, so I know I've done it, I can move on to the next bit. And I'm not challenging myself, therefore, to finish a whole sock, because I don't think I would ever pick it up again. So picking a section of it to do might mean it gets done. Next up, finish the gingerbread cow. So I started this in October, when the cow started. It came out, I think, the 16th of October, and I have been diligently working on it throughout the whole of January, and I am so close now to getting to the finish line. So that is obviously on my bingo list, mainly because I started it last year. I want it done, and then I can wrap it up nicely, package it away for Christmas this year. That is the plan. So I have purposely made sure that January I am only working on that blanket, along with other projects as well. So yeah, that's one of my squares. So I'm hoping that that will be ticked off very soon. Next up, I have Crochet Queen Nefertiri. I've written it as Queen Nefertiri in my bingo board, but she's actually Queen Nefertiti. I thought it was Tiri, but it's TT. So I need to correct that. And that's because my husband bought me the kit for Christmas, and he's just managed to print out the pattern for me at work. So I have everything ready to go for that. And Martin of Knit 365 runs an unofficial dole along, a Toft dole along, so that people can basically make up the doles from Toft. I did it last year. I made Frida last year, and I really enjoyed doing that. So this year I'm attempting to do Queen Nefertiti, and she has beading as well, so that's given me a little bit more of a challenge with completing her, and I'm really looking forward to that. So yeah, I think that runs around March time, February, March time maybe. So that will be ticked off fairly soon as well in the year. So yeah, I'm looking forward to ticking these off of my bingo board. Next up, I have some cross stitch. The Mighty Samurai has been a long-standing whip on this channel, and if you've seen my 100-day project, which is 100 hours of cross stitch, you'll have seen it progress throughout 2020, I think that was. Part of 2020 and part of 2021 I worked on adding hours into it, and I've still continued to do that, but I've not hit another 100 yet. So there will be a part 2 coming, and here it is at the moment. So yeah, I'm hoping to get this finished, because it doesn't belong to me. It belongs to my aunt, and she was making it for my uncle. So I want to get it done, and then I can send it back to them. And yeah, that's my biggest cross stitch whip, I think, at the moment. I'm gonna do a video of those as well, because let's be honest here, I have quite a lot of different crafts, and although cross stitch does not take up an awful lot of space for me, because I have reduced my sort of materials and threads, etc., I still have quite a lot of projects that were started around 2011, and they need to be worked on. So I'm going to try and dig out all of my cross stitch projects that are started and go through them as their own video, because there are far too many. And yeah, I've been inspired by a lot of floss tubers at the moment, so that's something I want to bring to the channel as well. So look out for that. And next up is more knitting. I want to knit a gnome. So I've never made anything like in the round in terms of knitting, like toy based. Obviously I've started the sock, but I've never made an object of some sort with knitting. So I want to knit a gnome. I have 2 gnome patterns. One is Nana, which was the Christmas make-along, and then the other one I think is Never Not Gnoming, which is a much smaller one and would be an easier gnome to make to get started with. So I'm gonna aim to make at least one of them this year and see how I go. I've got the yarn, I've got plenty of minis and loads of scrap yarn, so I've got plenty to use for it, and I've now got some extra knitting needles as well. So I'm gonna knit a gnome. And Helen of Giddy Yarns and Laura of The Lonely Knitter, who is also Folk Yarn Studio, are doing an unofficial gnome along. So it's those, I think it's friends that Grimble together, and the idea is that people are working up or making 8 gnomes over the year. So yeah, it's going to be super fun. So I'm going to join in with that. Then I have another blanket to finish, which is the On the Seashore blanket by Rosina Plain. That one, I think, when did that start? 2023? I want to say 2023. I don't know. Is it on my list for 2023? So it was started before 2024. And yeah, I want to get that finished. I've now done week or part 2. I have all the pattern, I have all the yarn, and once I've got the gingerbread cow out of the way, I want to move on to a much easier project, which is also on my bingo board, and then I'll work on the Seashore blanket. All my blankets are at a point now where I cannot work on them outside of the home because they're too big. So yeah, so my evenings are going to be spent working on these blankets. That has been made up in King Cole Island beaches, in Pebble and Lagoon. So yeah, okay. Then we have a sewing project. So I was given, we lost my granddad, I think it was 2020. Yeah, September 2020 we lost my granddad, and we were kept back some of his shirts that he used to wear. So I was given the task of making these shirts into cushions. I have done one, and that was from my mum. So I have a bag in this corner that has the rest of the shirts to make into cushions. And they all have like the square patches that says, this is a shirt I used to wear, etc, etc. So I need to sew all of those on first, and then get them made up into cushions, or at least cushion covers. And once they're done, again, that's something else that can leave the house, that doesn't have to stay here. So yeah, I get one, my sister gets one, my 2 aunts get one, my grandmother gets one, and then I think 2 of my cousins as well get one each. So yeah, everyone is getting a cushion. But I think my mum needs to order some more of the patches because I don't think there's enough. I'll have to double check. But yeah, I want to get those out. I've set up my sewing machine in the spare room at the moment. So if I can get them out and do them before April, when we've got a friend staying with us, then they'll be done and that'll be good. So yeah, cushions made from shirts for my family. Then I have finished Granny Square blanket. Now, I've been quite lax with this one because I have 2 Granny Square blankets. One is what I thought was chunky, but it's not, it's Aran, and that's the Karen X Pantone yarn blanket. And then I also have just one big Granny Square, which is made in King Cole Cherished. And I think I'm going to do the King Cole Cherished one in February because it's just round and round and round. And I think that's an easy one to get done. I've already gone through 1 ball of each colour, so I just have another ball of each colour to go through. And I think it's going to work up fairly quickly, and then I just have a border to do it in the variegated version, which uses all of the colours together. So yeah, I think that's going to be my February project, because February is a smaller month, only by a few days, but it's still smaller. And yeah, I think that'll be a good project for February to work on. So that's what I'm going to do. As soon as I finish the gingerbread cow, that's what I'm working on, that big granny square, because I think I can get that done. Yeah. And then last up for my bingo board is to make 10 project bags. Now, I've already got out some of the fabrics. I've got 2 that are going to be retreat bags. So they're the ones that have the frame in them and they sit open, so you can use them as a yarn bowl, effectively. And so I've got 2 that I want to do with those. I've then got 3 Christmas ones that I want to do. So that's 5. And then I've got loads of other fabrics. I've got so many beautiful fabrics that I want to make up into something. And I thought if I set myself a goal to make 10 project bags, those that I'm not keeping or gifting to friends will go onto my website. So I'm hoping to restock and put some more notions and bits and pieces up there. What I want to do is make project bags for like knitting and crochet, but also pattern wallets, and wallets big enough to fit like embroidery hoops or embroidery frames in, so that people who cross stitch and embroider can also use those as well. And I have loads of vinyl, which I think would be really good to have on the front of the pouches, so that you can see at an instant what is inside and what project it is, without having to open up the bag and have a rummage. And they're my flat bags. So I've made some in the past, but it's been a while. So I'm going to need to dig out my patterns for that. But yeah, so that is my bingo board for 2025. But that's not all of my goals for 2025. They do continue. So, because of the bingo board, and because I want to reduce my whip list, which is one of my challenges for this year, I want to reduce by 10. As I said, I was on 22 at the beginning of January. I'm down 5 already. So I want to finish at least 5 more off of my whip list. And that will bring it down to 11 or 12. 12. Which I think is a bit more manageable, because I've had something like 30 odd whips in the past. And at one point I was including my cross stitch whips in that, but I'm no longer doing that. So this is just yarn whips. Yeah. So I want to reduce it to at least 12, and therefore not have any leftover projects from 2025 to go into 2026. But I guess we'll see. You never know. I could start something right on the last day of the year, which is exactly what I did in 2024. So yeah, I want to reduce by 10. And within those 10, I want to finish at least 3 blankets from that list. So as I've already mentioned, I'm working on the gingerbread cow, which is 1 blanket. I want to finish on the seashore blanket, which is still on that list. And I want to finish one of the granny square blankets. I didn't actually mention the other granny square blanket, really. The Karen X Pantone blanket is lots of little squares and then big squares all joined together. I had to frog some of that to finish off the wine and roses blanket. So yeah, I need to dig that back out and just have it. If I have it downstairs, I can just work on it as and when. I've now got more of the Karen X Pantone yarn from Kirsty, who is Grenade Creations. And yeah, they've given me, well, I bought from them, I think 4 or 5 more bundles of the colours, so I can make it a little bit bigger. But obviously that means I've got to crochet more squares. But there we go. So yes, that needs to be worked on as well, because I was so close to getting that finished, and then I worked on the wine and roses blanket using the same yarn, which was discontinued. So yeah, so I could end up finishing 4 blankets from this WIP list, but I guess we will see. Anyway, let's get back on track. So EOYF is coming up in March, and I'm joining in with the makealong again this year. Last year I did work on the candy pullover, but I didn't finish it. I got to the point where I think I was almost ready to split for sleeves. So I could put it on and I could wear it as like a collar, but that was it. This year I want to be able to finish the project for the makealong, and I'm not really a knitter, so I'm going to do the Magnus cardigan, which is in Aran yarn. And yeah, I was trying to use up just stash, and in the progress of trying to work out if I had enough stash yarn, I thought I didn't. Went and bought 2 more balls of Aran with wool, which are the big 400 gram balls, and then came home and realised, no, I do have enough yarn to make it striped with 3 stripes, and then use 2 colours as my 2 different greys as my main colour for like the contrasting cuffs and the contrast stripe in between. Anyway, I'm making the Magnus cardigan for the EAYF 2025 make along in Aran, and I'm using Deramores, which is also a discontinued yarn, which is why I was worried I didn't have enough stash. But there we go, done. I'm working on the cardigan. So I'm hoping to try and bring in some more pieces I can wear into my wardrobe. I was thinking about it earlier, and that there are 2 crocheted items in my wardrobe at the moment that I do not wear. One, because one of them is it doesn't sit right on me. It's very wide in the neck, and I would prefer it to be higher. So yeah, that doesn't, so I don't wear it. And then the other one is a cardigan. The first one was a jumper, and the other one is a cardigan because it's snug on my arms. I added panels into the underarm to make it, to give me more room, and that's still not enough. So yeah, those are 2 items. I think I'm going to put them on Vinted and see if they go. Otherwise I'll find something else to do with them. But yeah, I don't wear them, so there's no need for them to be in my wardrobe still. Yeah, so that's that. This morning I had the fleeting thought that I might reopen my Etsy shop, but mainly focus on my crochet patterns and my cross stitch patterns, because I do have some of those as well. But I don't actually have that many patterns, thinking about it. So that leads me on to my next challenge or goal, is to finally write up the Sunshine Beret pattern. Because I redid the snowflake one over last year, and the sunshine one, part of it is the same pattern. I've just changed the external rounds on it, so that should be fairly easy to write up and get out, because I have all the photos as well. So I should be able to get that sorted and up onto my Ravelry, and then if I open up my Etsy again, I'll be able to put it on there too. So yeah, I want to get that one written up, because I kept saying that last year and never got round to it. And since finishing the snowflake one again, I have ideas to do like a matching shawl and a blanket. So I want to get the sunshine one done, written up and out, so that I can work on the shawl and the blanket. I have 3 shawl patterns in my head at the moment. The 4th one is a bit tricky because I need to work out numbers and whether it will work or not. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, so I have at least 4 shawl ideas in my head, and or it could be a scarf. And then I have a blanket pattern in my head as well. So I want to get to working on them and getting those up and out, because I think they're going to be really cool. So yeah, that is that. Now, last year, so 2024, I finished 56 items, and in 2023 I think it was 54. I can't double check because that was in a different book. So yeah, in 2024 I finished 56 items, which is technically 58. My goal on Ravelry was just to finish 24, which is 2 a month. So I think I surpassed that substantially. And yeah, so I want to try and go for 50 again this year. As I've said, I've got so many different things ready that I want to do. So for example, on my bingo board, I've got 7 individual makes, and then I've got 10 project bags, so that's 17. And then I think there are 5 or 6 shirts to make into cushions, so that's 23. Just from my bingo board. So I think I can do 50. Provided I actually get my button gear and get on with it. So yeah, I think 50 is a pretty good number. I think I'd kind of set myself that goal the year before as well, but didn't put it in writing. So now I'm saying it out loud. I want to make at least 50 things for 2025. Now, the last 3 things on my goals list involve using up stash yarn, because I have set myself the challenge to do the Granny Square card deck and do 1 square a week for 2025. So that is this box from Claire Montgomery, who is Giddyknits, I think, on Instagram. And the idea is there are 50 squares in there. There are 52 weeks of the year, so I'm going to do 1 square a week. And then I'll be using up stash yarn, and potentially I can then make it into another blanket, or I could do something else with it. So I could, for example, make a cardigan with it, or a jumper. We'll see. So yeah, that is going to use up my stash yarn. I want to reduce my stash anyway because I have quite a lot of it. And I say that, but I went and bought 13 balls of yarn from Aldi this week. And they're not small balls. They are 280 gram balls, and I have 13 in 4 different colours. Not 13 of each colour, 13 total, but across 4 different colours. Because I've seen the Mexican blanket, which is a knitted blanket, which has colour work in it, and I want to have a go. And I think I can use that yarn for it. Now, the original pattern is made using Lion Brand's Wool Ease Thick and Quick. But I think that's more of a chunky yarn as opposed to a super chunky. This is a bit thicker, so I think I'm going to have to adjust the pattern so I don't do as many stitches, otherwise it's going to be huge. And I'm going to need more yarn. So, yeah. We shall see. I've never done colour work before in knitting. I've done it in crochet. Not knitting. So that will be fun. Yeah, so that's the idea, to use up stash yarn. The final thing on here is the year of Froggo. I recently bought the frog kit from Bex, who is the Pigeon's Nest. And for this year, she is making outfits for Froggo. So there is a different outfit every month of the year. And the first one was a little yoga set. So he's got little shorts, a yoga mat, and a little holdall for the yoga mat as well, which unrolls so he can do yoga poses, which I think is just so much fun. So yeah, I've started working on my Froggo, and then I will use up stash yarn to make his outfits as well, which I think is just going to be so much fun. So yeah, I have joined Pigeon's Patreon, so I get the pattern early in each month, and I'm going to collect them all, and then once I've finished making Froggo, if I finish a project, then I'll make his outfit. If I finish a different project, I'll make an outfit. So each month I want to be able to make his outfits. It's almost the end of January now, and I don't actually have Froggo made. So the beginning of February, I'll be working on getting him finished and getting his outfit made, all ready to go. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. It's going to be really fun. And yeah, maybe you'll see them over on Instagram as well, because he's cool. Yeah, so that's my kind of plans for craft wise anyway across the year. In addition though, obviously I have some YouTube goals, because this is the platform that I spend more time creating content for. I always forget to post pictures on Instagram now. I used to do it very regularly and now I forget. But I am in the process of doing Whip Wednesdays again. So every Wednesday I will post a reel to Instagram of the projects I'm working on, or the ones that I've got to hand, that I know I've worked on that week or I'm planning to work on that day. In addition to that, I will then upload that to YouTube as well as a short. So it is on both platforms. Sometimes it's very late when I post it to YouTube, and I have found that when I upload a short onto my app, it automatically sets them as private, and I don't necessarily notice that until the next day, and I think, why has no one seen it? It's because it's private and not public. So I'm having to make sure I double check that it is public when it goes up. But there we go. So therefore, talking of numbers, for YouTube, we're currently at 1236, so 1236, which still blows my mind that we're over 1,000 and that we're actually at 1,200. So my goal for this year is just to get to 1,500. And I've used that word, haven't I? Just. Everyone tells me it's not just. Yeah. But I do use that word. I want to get to 1,500 subscribers on YouTube. So if you like, share, comment, subscribe to the channel, then that will build our community. We'll get more people on board and they'll be here to see everything that goes on behind the scenes. Yeah, and join in the fun, basically. So 1,500. That's not an awful lot, but it will mean so much to hit another milestone over here on YouTube. It says that I've monetized, but that means setting up memberships and super thanks or shop. Now I can't link my shop because my shop is not a Shopify account or anything that they supported on YouTube. I have a SumUp store, so I can't link it that way. And I don't want to have just memberships here, which is why I've set up the Patreon account. So the membership area is separate. So I'm not monetized. I'm not making any revenue out of YouTube at the moment. And that is something that I would like to try and get to by the end of 2025. I think that's a good goal to have, to hit 1,500 subscribers, build up my watch hours and hit monetization properly by the end of 2025. So yeah, that's my YouTube goals. I'm still going to be continuing to post one podcast a month. That's usually within the first week of each month. So I tend to record either the last day of the month or the first day of the month, as close as I can get. Obviously, January was December's podcast was very late because I wasn't actually at home the last few days of December and the first few days of January. So it took a little while to get back into that routine. And yeah, it's up. So I'm hoping to do it at least once a month. And something new for this year, I think it's going to be just for Patreon at the moment. I want to do I don't want to say studio vlog, because it's not really a studio. It's more of a behind the scenes vlog, I guess, of things that I get up to when I'm not necessarily working, or it's what I do on a day-to-day basis, but maybe like over a week or a few days. So my first vlog, I did film one for January. I need to edit it and get it up onto Patreon as their first sort of freebie thing on there. And I made my nan's banana bread. So I have been brought up with this recipe. Every time I went to my nan's, we would get banana bread, banana cake, as we called it. And when my sister and I got to, I think, secondary school, my nan wrote down the recipe for us. She bought us little mixers. We had like a blender. We had all the gear, basically, to make her cakes on our own, because she had taught us well. And every now and then we get bananas and I will make the bread. So my first vlog for the year is to sort of commemorate my nan's recipe and memory and make banana bread with you all. And I post the recipe as well with that. So yeah, considering that we lost my nan in November, late November of 2024, and her funeral was not until the first week of January, which is why I wasn't around. So this is my way of keeping her memory alive and, yeah, sharing it with the world, I guess. She is the lady that taught me how to knit and crochet. She taught me how to use her sewing machine and make cushions and blankets and quilts and clothes, and yeah, so I want to keep that alive. So with that being said, I then also want to bring some more tutorials to the channel and share those skills that I have learned from her and throughout my adult life. So yeah, I think that's everything for today. So have you set yourself some crafty goals for 2025? Do share them in the comments down below, because I'd love to hear what you are looking to do for this year. Are you looking to learn something new at all, or develop skills you already have? All those sorts of things. So thank you so very much for joining me, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care. Bye.